This says determine the truth table without determine the truth value, without constructing a truth table. A lot of times you don't need a truth table because if you already know if it's true or false, well then just go with it. And these are just kind of straightforward. So it says George Washington was the first U.S. president. True or false? True. Good. Abraham Lincoln was the second president. Well, we know that's false, right? So that's false. And if you don't know some of these, Google it, look it up. And it says there has been a U.S. president who was born in Antarctica. Well, we know that's false. Why? Because all U.S. presidents are supposed to be born in America, in theory. Okay? So we know that this is true. We know that this is false. And we know that this is false. So when you write this down, let's write it as, I guess, I forgot to write the sentence. So there was a sentence with this. I forgot to write it down. So here, let me do this. Make that smaller. So basically the sentence says George Washington was the first U.S. president, or Abe Lincoln was the second U.S. president, but, so you see the parentheses, okay? But there, I guess it'll help if I gave you the whole question. It says, but there has not, keyword, been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. Okay, I apologize for not giving you the sentence. So, George Washington was the first U.S. president, or Abe Lincoln was the second U.S. president, comma, but there has not been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. So if I were to write this sentence here using the symbols, what would it look like? It would look like P or Q, and there's a comma, right? So I know that there's a parentheses, but there has, but that's in addition to what you're saying. So that's going to be like your and. I know it says but it's like, but in addition to what I'm saying, I'm continuing the sentence. There has not been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. Well, if R is there has been a president, then not R means there has not been a president born in Antarctica. So let's determine true or false on these. George Washington, the first U.S. president? Yes. Abraham Lincoln, the second president? No. And there has not been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. That is true, because all presidents are supposed to be born in the United States. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're like, oh, but this says not R. Right. R says there has been a U.S. president who was born in Antarctica. This statement says there has not been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. So when you write this compound statement, this needs to match the sentence. Then if it's statements that you can automatically say whether true or false, then say it. George Washington was the first U.S. president. Abe Lincoln was not the second U.S. president. And it is true that there has not been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. Okay. Let me know if you leave your questions in the comments if you still have questions on that. And now it's just regular processing. We know that true or false. Well, that's going to be true, right? And then we have our and then this is true and true. And we know that true and true is true. Okay, so we didn't do a truth table, but that means that the compound statement is true. Not each statement, the compound statement, meaning if someone were to say this out loud, they would be speaking truth. George Washington was the first U.S. president, or Abraham Lincoln was the second president. That's a true statement. We know that he wasn't, but let's go. And then it says, but there has not been a U.S. president born in Antarctica. That would be a true statement. So they took each statement, did the validations, and said, okay, well, that entire statement is a true statement. Okay?